Hello class, welcome to my Module 9 video discussion. Starting with question 1. Discuss the key concepts related to organizational development as presented in our chapter. Identify an organizational change which you have participated in, apply these concepts, being sure to cite the text in your response. How did the change work? What would the author say? What is your evaluation of how it happened? The key concepts discussed on organizational development are presented on page 452 and 453. There are 4 concepts that they use to help further define organizational development, starting with behavioral and social science research. This focuses more on the behavior of the employees and how they socialize. Consultants then use this information to help an organization to change. The next concept for organizational development is called performance focused. This is where researchers focus on the performance at both the individual and organizational levels. They try to develop a strategy to increase performance for the workers. The third concept is called systems perspective. This concept I actually didn't really understand, so I'm just going to read off what is according to the text on page 452. As I quote, important factors for organizational development include both a larger system view of organizations and systematic process for implementing change. Moving on to the last concept. It's called the change and reinforcement. So from what I got from this concept is that it is focused on implementing a new strategy, and they just continue to improve the strategy based on the outcomes. At least that's how I understood this concept. And I can't really recall any organizational changes I've experienced. Even in this college, I don't think I've seen any changes. Maybe there has been some changes, I just haven't paid attention, or I just have not been here long enough to witness changes. Moving on to question 3. I think it's 3. Yeah, it's 3. What is communication audit, and how might it work to help understand what is and is not working in an organizational setting? Use the text and types of audits presented to explain and support your answer. A communication audit gives reference to a more thorough understanding and evaluation of the communication practices and processes within an organization. I got this definition from page 461. So in other words, a communication audit is an examination of the organization's way of communication. This can be helpful for organizations because they can see where the problems can be in the way they communicate, or they can try to improve their current way of communication to improve efficiency. According to the text, there are 2 major types of audits. The first one is called International Communication Association Communication Audit, and then it's a survey. And the second one is Downs and Hazen's Communication Satisfaction Questionnaire. There isn't much to talk about these because they are just surveys used to audit communications within an organization. These are found on page 462 and 463. This is the last question. This is question 3. Using information from the text, include 3 domains of learning. Discuss your experience with workplace training and apply the material from the chapter. Discuss what would have improved or otherwise changed and improved the training. So there are 3 learning domains found on page 467. They are cognitive, psychomotor, and affective. The cognitive learning domain deals with the recall of recognition of knowledge and the development of intellectual abilities and skill. The psychomotor domain is about learning a specific skill or pattern of sequences to accomplish a specific task. And the last learning domain is called the affective learning, and this is defined as objectives which emphasize a feeling, tone, and emotion, or a degree of acceptance or rejection. Affective objectives vary from simple acceptance to selected phenomenon to complex but inherently consistent qualities of character and conscience, interests, attitudes, appreciations, values, emotional sets, or biases. This definition that I just read is found on page 467. I think they made the definition way too complicated when it's actually a pretty simple idea. Effective learning is basically just learner's choice of what they want to learn. If a person chooses to learn something on their own will, that means they have a positive emotional reaction about the subject. And if they don't want to learn something, then they have a negative emotional reaction. The text just made this way too complicated than necessary. I can't really talk about workplace training experience since I don't have any experience, but I can say that the psychomotor learning domain is something that is not just used in a workplace, but it's also can be used in school or learning an instrument, because you first need to learn the basic steps before moving on to the more advanced like classes or techniques. And yeah, that's how psychomotor is relevant to everyone. And yeah, that's the end of my video. See you Wednesday.